What is my favorite chapter from Push Through Your Ultimate Success Playbook? That's so hard for me because so many parts of this book resonate with the heart of who I am and the experiences I've had in my life. But in the very first chapter, Game On, we talk about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And that, along with just keep going, that's one of the next chapters, and rise up is the whole concept behind our passion and our experiences and the message we want to communicate to the readers. Seeing in yourself those traits that exist, looking fear straight in the eye, and keep going anyway. Oftentimes, the success or the breakthrough or the peace of mind is right after you get over that hump.
So my favorite chapter of Push Through Your Ultimate Success Playbook, I really go between a couple of the chapters that are my favorite. But I guess the one that really resonates with me and the one that I teach and coach on the most is Rise Up. It's about being confident, courageous, having humility, and really knowing when to speak up and when to, when to lead, when to follow, when to speak up for what you believe in. I really believe that confidence is one of the number one things that women especially need to be successful in business. And so I think Rise Up resonates well with me because I'm always coaching the agents on my team and the women around me to be more confident and courageous.
Reflecting on the process of writing the book and all that went into it, one of the most important snippets or parts that resonates with me is when we talk about being assertive and aggressive and competitive. That's all talked about in our Fierce chapter. And, for me, those have been very positive, very important qualities and times in my life that I've been assertive, competitive, and aggressive. Although off the court, outside of athletics, it's not always the most positive reactions to those qualities. And so what I want to communicate about these qualities in this chapter is that there's a fine line. There's a dial as I see it, and knowing when to turn up that dial and when it's needed and when to dial it back and let other people take the lead or be more aggressive or not having to be as competitive. And then there are times when you've got to dial it up and make your voice heard, be assertive, be proactive, be competitive. That's very hard for me to learn. It took a long time for me to mature, and I'm certainly not perfect all the time. Sometimes we get super intense, but aggressiveness and assertiveness and competitiveness are fantastic qualities, very important on and off the court. And just knowing that dial, when it's appropriate to turn that up and when you may want to dial it back a little bit.
My favorite part or favorite quote of the book is by far the end, where I am really saying my final message. I use a quote by Marianne Williamson, and I'm going to just read it to you because I think it is so powerful. But the quote is, "Our deepest fear. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. We were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. I find this to be one of the most powerful quotes because there's many times when we give our power away. And I think our strength comes when we can stand in that place where we are brilliant, talented, and gorgeous, and fabulous. So to me, that's one of the most powerful parts of our book is some of the quotes that we put in the book. And there's many more, but that's just the one that stands out most to me. The most favorite interview moment, wow, I have so many. I mean, I got to interview Carey, who he's the greatest volleyball player of all time. I mean, it's probably undisputed, I don't know. However, for me, I was introduced to him in 1984, and after that, I fell in love with volleyball. He was on the national team, and I got to watch him and the rest of the USA team win in Los Angeles. Interviewing Kelsey Plum was really cool for me too. I watched her as a little girl be this competitive athlete, and it was really great to see the woman that she's grown into and how inspiring she is for others, and that she's so humble and she has such a great work ethic. Of course, Danelle Delgado, interviewing her is always a pleasure. She's one of my coaches and mentors, as is Sandra Yancey and Mehran Asadi. So I really think I could take pieces out of each one of those and just cherish those moments that we got to spend, you know, some 30, 45 to 60 minutes with different people that really have inspired me throughout my life and continue to through this day.
Some of my favorite moments from our interviews were actually, all of them were fantastic. Talking to Salima about her story and her cooperation in helping us write the foreword. Carey, I couldn't believe how fantastic it was to interview him. And one thing that took us by surprise is when he talked about having a heart-to-heart conversation with himself. And just that humility that he showed in that story and those moments, and how that translates to his success and the rest of the world, and certainly a connection that many of us can hear. I also think back to Sandra Yancey, and one of the messages that resonated with me from our interview was how she talked about trying to balance so many things on her plate. And that part of that is when dealing with her family, to have a conversation with them as to what is most important to you. You know, that her son at this time, that she was referencing, that I'm involved in. And so much she had stressed about many things and being there for the cookie drive, or I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but something that really wasn't as significant to him. But when she was there for his football games, it meant everything to him. And I think that point I took away from that is we spin our wheels worrying, focusing on so much that may not be as important to those that are most important to us. And often that's what creates that imbalance on our plate. And I would say last but not least was when Mehran Asadi went through his weekly reflection. And so much so that this stood out that we incorporated that process into our journal. And the final daily push in the book is taking weekly time to reflect on the week you just had and the week ahead. And this was an aha moment, not only in my life, but gives you and our readers some guidance as to focus And we turned it into the 7 chapters and the 7 principles in our book and have you reflect on that the week before and the week after. All of our interviews were incredible, and the enthusiasm and support from some of the most successful people in our country. But those were just a few of my favorite times.
All right, I would say my go-to holiday food is on Christmas Eve. The people who are like my parents, Jenny and Pierre, they host a party dinner, and one of my pseudo brothers, one of his best friends, brings this homemade eggnog. Bobby's dad makes this wonderful eggnog. And then my Bobby, my husband, he makes apple pie, which is to die for. It's not as good on gluten-free crust though, but it's still delicious. And I just really look forward to our Christmas morning, which is our coffee with Bailey's in it. And now that I'm dairy-free, Bailey's makes an almond version, so I'm very happy about that because I can still share Christmas morning in a cup with my husband and my brothers and sisters.
My favorite holiday food or tradition is when I was growing up and my Italian grandmother, Antoinette Salicenti, married name, Nostrand, and our entire family would make Italian style pizzas from scratch. The dough, the sauce, and make every concoction under the sun. The only one I didn't like is the ones with anchovy. Love that smell, and I'll never forget the Italian pizzas and my Italian grandma. What's on my holiday wish list? Well, it's not really long, although I am very excited because we are going to attempt to make my grandmother and grandfather's recipe for those wonderful Italian pizzas, like I mentioned earlier. And that is probably the number one thing on my holiday wish list. I also am looking forward to, I always want to get one of those really big, long candy canes for my stocking. Just little things and being with family are really what I'm looking for this holidays.
So my holiday wish list, I mean, there's not really too much that I want for. My husband and I are getting each other a new bed for Christmas. So my holiday wish list is just for my family and my friends to be safe, for my 7-year-old son to enjoy his Christmas and being with family, and for my 20-year-old and his new wife to have a wonderful first Christmas together. We're so bummed that they're not going to get to come out and see us this Christmas. He's in the Navy, and the Navy base that he's on is in lockdown now, so all orders to go home were recalled. So we won't get to see him, but we are going to be Zooming with him or FaceTiming with him and making sure that they just have a wonderful first Christmas together. A fun fact about me. So many. Let's see. I can juggle, not just all these plates in the air for my life, but also softballs, volleyballs, tennis balls. I can juggle. Let's see. Another fun fact about me is I have a 7-year-old. I had him when I was 43. I went straight from having a child to menopause, I feel like. Another fun fact about me is I love gummy bears.
What is a fun fact about me? Well, many of you don't know this, but I have moved over 15 times in my life. So I was born and raised early on in Wisconsin. So I'll give a shout out to my roots there. And I've lived in Illinois, Minnesota, Montana, Michigan, and now make my home in Northwest Indiana and Crown Point. and we just passed the longest period of time I've ever lived anywhere in beautiful Crown Point, Indiana. We've lived here 12 years now, and it definitely feels like my hometown.